There are movie stars, and then there are legends. Faces carved into cinematic history, voices that echo through time, men whose shadows seem to move even after the scene fades to black. Humphrey Bogart was one of those men, a man who didn't just play tough guys. He lived through the grit, survived the heartbreak, and built himself out of pure stubbornness and fire. But Bogart didn't start as an icon. He didn't start as a romantic hero. He didn't even start as the main character. No, Bogey started at the bottom. The villain, the gangster, the man who got punched, shot, betrayed, or killed before the third act even began. And somehow, he turned all that grit into gold. He was born in 1899 to a wealthy New York family, not the kind you'd expect to produce Hollywood's toughest screen legend. His father was a respected surgeon, his mother a famous illustrator whose work appeared in top magazines across the country. Little Humphrey grew up around money, etiquette, and polished society. But he didn't fit in, not even a little. He was stubborn, rebellious, defiant, a kid who rolled his eyes at rules and scoffed at expectations. When he joined the Navy at 17 during World War I, he felt something he'd never felt before: freedom. But life wasn't done roughing him up. He returned home to a world that didn't know what to do with him, a misfit, drifting between jobs, searching for purpose. And then he found the stage. Bogart fell into acting like an accident, a random job, a backstage opportunity, a chance to fill in for a missing performer. But once he heard the applause, once he felt that energy, he realized he'd found something that made sense. Still, success didn't come easily. For years, he played forgettable supporting roles in small theater productions. Then the movies called, and Hollywood looked at him and said, "You're the villain." And for a long time, that's all he was. Gangster number 2, thug in a trench coat, the guy with the gun, but not the backstory. Bogart's face, sharp, cynical, unpolished, didn't scream leading man. Studios didn't think audiences would want him as a hero. He didn't have the pretty smile, the classic jawline, or the charming manner of traditional Hollywood stars. But what Bogart had was presence. A stillness that spoke louder than dialogue. A toughness that didn't need explanation. A sadness behind the eyes that made every character feel real. He wasn't acting tough. He was tough. Life had carved it into him. His breakthrough came with The Petrified Forest, where he played Duke Mantee, a role so intense, so electrifying, that audiences didn't just watch him, they feared him. For the first time, Humphrey Bogart wasn't forgettable. He wasn't a filler actor. He wasn't the fourth gangster on the left. He was unmissable, dangerous, magnetic. And someone in Hollywood finally asked the question, what if Bogart is more than the villain? Then came High Sierra, a turning point. Bogart played a criminal, yes, but a human one. A man with pain, depth, and heartbreak. Audiences leaned in. They didn't just see a gangster, they saw a soul. And suddenly, the door cracked open. Just a sliver, just enough. Through that sliver came Casablanca. And that film didn't just open the door, it blew it off its hinges. Here's looking at you, kid. One line, 5 words, immortal. Bogart became the face of American cinema, a wounded romantic, a reluctant hero, a man hardened by life, yet still capable of deep love. Rick Blaine wasn't just a character. He was Bogart, tough exterior, broken interior, loyal heart. Casablanca made him an icon. The Maltese Falcon proved it wasn't an accident. To Have and Have Not gave him chemistry with the woman who would change his life, Lauren Bacall. Bogey and Bacall, Hollywood's greatest love story. She was 19, he was 44. People whispered, people doubted, people rolled their eyes. But love doesn't care about permission. Bacall steadied him. She softened him. She understood him in ways no one else could. And Bogart, the man who'd spent half his life playing villains, finally felt like he'd found his heroine. Their partnership produced legendary films. Their romance became the blueprint for old Hollywood passion. Their marriage survived fame, rumors, distance, and illness. When Bogey loved, he loved fiercely, quietly, completely. But time is a villain no one can defeat. Bogart was diagnosed with cancer in the mid-1950s. Even as his strength faded, he kept acting with the same grit that carried him through the early days. His final roles were powerful, layered, haunting. His eyes told stories even when he barely spoke. He passed away in 1957 at just 57 years old, far too early for a man who had finally become everything he once believed he couldn't be. Lauren Bacall placed a whistle in his coffin, a symbol of their private joke. You know how to whistle, don't you? And just like that, the legend of Humphrey Bogart drifted into eternity. Bogart didn't become a star because he was handsome or perfect or polished. He became a star because he was real, because he showed the world that heroes don't need capes. Sometimes they just need grit, honesty, and a voice that cuts through smoke like a knife. Humphrey Bogart didn't just act in films. He changed them. He reshaped the definition of masculinity, heroism, and vulnerability. And to this day, when a man in a trench coat lights a cigarette on screen, he's paying homage to Bogey, the villain who became an icon, the misfit who became a legend, the tough guy with the soft heart. Humphrey Bogart, forever the king of cool.